Okay, Stephen, as soon as you're ready.
All right. Well, we will call to order this meeting of the Design and Historic Review Commission, Thursday, November 19th, 2020. I have about 10:01. We are calling the meeting to order, establishing that a quorum is present. And the first thing will be the consent agenda, which this morning is consideration and approval of the October 8th, 2020 DHRC meeting minutes. Everybody's got those via email, and I will assume people have had time to peruse them and see if you have any changes or problems or questions. Anybody have anything on those?
Nope.
Okay. Do we hear a motion to approve as written?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Great. We'll move on to the regular agenda. And first up, we have RC 18-21 amended 200 South Magdalene Street, a request to amend a river corridor approval for an approved case to add a deck, patio, and string lights to an existing business located at 200 South Magdalene Street. And with that, I'll turn it over to city staff.
Good morning, Shelley Pascal, City Planner. And just to make sure you can see my PowerPoint.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You might be familiar with this property. It is located at 200 South Magdalene. It is the old Central Fire Station. They're requesting approval at this time for a deck / patio with a canopy and string lights at the rear of the building. It is located within the Central Business District and downtown neighborhood, and it is located in District 3, Harry Thomas. This is a couple of photographs of the existing old Central Firehouse building. This is both the front and the side. This photograph is the rear of the property, and the proposed location of the deck would be back here in this rear. And I just wanted to kind of show you where the park was directly abutting. This is a site plan for the project. Kind of oversight, as you can see, the red canopy here is the new proposed canopies and the deck at the rear of the building. And this is the proposal of the deck. The blocks here at the bottom, they will be of actual blocks, and they'll have a backfill of dirt. And then the flooring will be pavers as the floor. As you can see, the proposal is to have a red canopy that will match the existing roof. The supports for the canopy and the railing will be both steel with rebar in between, which will be painted black. I just wanted to kind of show you what was provided to us of kind of the thoughts of what the canopy will be made out of, and they're proposing the cherry red. The River Corridor Master Development Plan states that development visible from the river should be well designed on all facades. From all views for this canopy, we believe that it will be aesthetically pleasing entryway, especially since it does abut the Firefighters Memorial City Park. It also states that high quality and durable materials should be used and are encouraged. We do believe that all proposed materials, steel and block, are of high quality. City staff, we are recommending for the DHRC to approve case RC 1821, which is an amended case due to it was approved originally back in 2018, for a deck and patio with a canopy and string lights subject to the following conditions. The colors, dimensions, and materials of the proposed deck / patio shall be consistent with the renderings approved by this commission. Any minor deviations may be approved by the planning director. And sorry about that. And the applicant shall obtain any required permits for this proposed project. Is there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for staff?
I guess the only question I have is, will they have a locked gate? Because it's butted right up against the park?
I do not know that answer, but our applicant is on this meeting, and I think they would be able to answer that question.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. This is Jody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'll make sure my computer it's working. No, we did not plan on putting a locked gate on there. We're going to have two entrances to it. One would come off the existing patio that's already there, and which is again adjacent to it and just attached to it. And then the other part would be on the other side of it. I'm not really sure what having a locked gate up there why we would need that, or I don't know.
Just to prevent people from the park trying to wander onto your property is all.
Oh, yeah, we haven't had a problem with that now. I mean, people park in that parking lot constantly that go to the park, and the existing patio we haven't had any issues, but
Great.
I don't know if that's something we would have to deal with on our own personal level. I haven't thought about that, but
Well, this is David Missouri. I think for fire code reasons too, the fire marshal won't allow you to have it locked. If you do, it has to have panic hardware on the inside. So it'd behoove you to not put a lock on it, because I don't think they'll allow that.
yeah. And then the city did tell us all the construction material has to be fireproof or made of non-combustible materials. So everything that appears to be wood in the picture will all be now steel and painted black.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? And is there going to be public comment for this? And if that's a no and a no, then does anybody have anything further, or are we ready to entertain a motion?
Motion
No.
to approve.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Have a motion in a second. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And that motion passes.
Hmm.
We'll move on to case CA 20-03 /DD20-10 amended 1 East Tewig, a request to amend a certificate of appropriateness CA 20-03 and a downtown district approval DD 2010 for the building at 1 East Concho Avenue to replace an existing double front door. And I'll turn that over to city staff as well.
Good morning, Sherry Bailey, Principal Planner. Can you see my screen?
It's showing as like the program, Sherry, but I think right there, right above kind of where your mouse is, there's a gray bar. It says slideshow and resume slideshow over to your right. Over to your right, gray bar. So if you'll I think if you'll click resume slideshow, it should go to your slides. Right there.
Okay.
Let's try that.
Okay.
I don't know what it's doing. I think we can see it as it is, so.
All right. We'll go with it as it is right now. Before you is an amendment to the certificate of appropriateness that you granted back in May of this year, and also the remodeling plan, which was DD 2010. If you can remember back when this was considered, they were painting the building, they were adding some trim, they were painting the doors, and they were doing a number of smaller repair items. In the process, and they've been working on the building that's on the corner of Chadburn and East Tewig. In the process of doing that, they have discovered that the two small doors, which have our entrance doors off of Tewig, have become a problem as far as handicapped entrance and people bringing items in, deliveries, that kind of thing. And so they are requesting an amendment to both of those actions. This is in the Central Business District. It's in the downtown area, and it is District 3, Mr. Thomas's district. And this is just to remind you of what the original proposal was, turning all of this downstairs area red. And then this is the original door that they are now bringing forward. This is the replacement door that they would like to put in. They're going to have constructed a 42-inch wood door. It will be stained, and then they would like to put in a wavy glass insert. They believe that is consistent with the age of the building and what was in it originally, and so they believe it's period appropriate. It will be a fairly simple door, very, very close to what was originally in the building. In looking at the certificate of appropriate analysis, we consider whether or not this is a reasonable effort for minimizing alteration. The two white double doors that were there, the 21-inch doors, were actually added in the early 1980s. And so the applicant believes that going back to this 42-inch door, this very simple door, is more in keeping with the original design of the building. They will not be doing anything else other than just replacing that door. And you have already approved all of the other changes to the building, and so they have been progressing on that. And as I indicated, they believe that this door will in fact be more consistent with the period, including the wavy glass, which is in keeping with the historic glazing materials and patterns of that time period. As I indicated, the double doors were added in the 80s, and going back through the information that they were able to find, they're not quite sure why those double doors were added, but since that time period, they really present almost an inhibiting factor on people coming into the building. You have to open both doors quite often to get in. And in keeping with the maintaining the distinctive features, there will be no other changes that they anticipate doing. They believe that the material reflects what was used at the time, simple wood design door with the wavy glass. And staff does not anticipate that there will be any rigorous forms of cleaning or anything that would occur to the building other than what was originally approved. It's a reasonable effort to protect the building and enhance what is there. And we are confident, quite frankly, that the door will enhance the curb appeal of the building and will certainly better meet the client's needs. And the alteration will not impair the existing structure in any way. So staff is recommending approval of the amendment to the certificate of appropriateness 20-03 and to DD 2010 for the design for the building and the rehab by adding the 42-inch wooden door with a wavy glass window insert. But we have two recommended conditions of approval: that the color, dimensions, and materials, it says sign, shall be consistent with the renderings approved by the DHRC. Any minor deviations, as you know, may be approved by the Planning and Development Service Director, and the applicant shall obtain building permits as required. With that, I'll stop sharing and ask if there are any questions.
I have a question. It says that the stain will be appropriate color. What is the color?
What they're wanting to do, what they indicated in their application is kind of a darker wood
I mean,
stain.
shouldn't that be in the report so we could see it? I mean, because when we do paint colors, we have to see the color. So we don't know what it is.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Robert Post, and what we have in mind was a door very, very similar to what Stango's put on. It's a darker stain. Of course, they have a stained glass instead of a wavy glass, but other than that, what we're proposing would look very, very similar to what they have.
Is the door oak, pine? What's the door going to be made out of? Mahogany? What?
It'll either be oak or mahogany.
Okay.
Whatever. We've talked to City Lumber, and they have a specialty company that can make the door and the frame for it. And basically it can be whatever kind of wood we want it to be, but we would suggest picking a wood that would stain and look as close to the Stango. What happened is I drove around downtown trying to decide what would be an appropriate look for this building, and I saw that door on Stango's, and I'm trying to emulate it the best I can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions? And is there any other public comment at this time? All right, commissioners, any further discussion? If not, then am I assuming we're going to change the word sign to the word door? But with that, and then the provisions that staff recommended, do we hear a motion to approve or deny?
Make the motion to approve, subject to those conditions.
All right, and we have a second.
Second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, then we will move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Case CA 18-06, amended DD 20-20, 130 South Oak Street, a request for downtown district approval and to amend a certificate of appropriateness for a new decorative fence along the north property line, 3 new cabana shade structures, stage, a mobile food unit with signage, and a freestanding sign located at 130 South Oak Street. And with that, I'll turn it over to city staff.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin, DHRC members. Jeff Fisher, Principal Planner. Our last case today is an amendment of a certificate of appropriateness. This is the old Masonic temple downtown that was converted into Backbeat Music Company. And so they're making some additional improvements. Some of you that were on the board in 2018 had looked at this. They had added some signage on the street corner of Oaks, and also some fencing. And so they're adding to this. So it's 130 South Oak Street, District 3, Harry Thomas in the downtown neighborhood, and the zoning is CBD. So this is the amendment to that case. And also it's now not in the river corridor, it's downtown. So it'll be DD 20 will be the river corridor case. So this is the front of the building. So in 2018, they got 3 signs here and a couple other signs over here that you all had approved on the building, as well as some cedar trees and a fence here. And this is just going to be for an outdoor courtyard. If they want to have occasional music events, obviously they can't do this every day in the CBD, but they're allowed to have that accessory to their music store. And so they just want to make some enhancements to that. So Shannon used to, all familiar with this property, used to be a building over here that was demolished recently, and it left an opening. So what the first improvement today is to basically continue this black metal fence and close that gap, as well as they'll have to fix this portion of the fence that was removed, and some of the trees as well. Then add some cabana structures out here for shade and a small performance stage, again, just to have some occasional concerts as well. There's one flag sign in the front that they'd like to keep. They won't be able to keep this sign for now. I understand the applicants to remove this And that's because this ramp is protruding into the right of way. So that sign would need to come back for an encroachment, and they could choose to do that in the future. But basically it's the one sign here, the cabana structures, a food cart, and also the closing the fence. So we'll just go over those improvements quickly. These are some of the pictures of the courtyard. So their shade structures we'll get to in a minute. These are some other examples of some of these structures downtown to provide shade from the elements for their customers. So this is Leaf Luger's Heritage Park, and then the Cactus Hotel, just some examples. So here's our concept plan. So the first improvement is to, again, enclose that, that fence due to Shannon's building being removed. This will be a 6-foot high fence. It'll have the round finials on top, look very similar to the metal fence that's already at the front and the rear of the building. The new cabana shade structures will have a vertical clearance of 8 feet and will be 10 feet by 16 feet. And then under one of them over here, they'll have the performance stage. They'll also want a food truck. The food truck section of the zoning ordinance requires a concrete pad. So they're going to do that there and then park the food truck here. That is a mobile food cart. So this just allows them to have it more than 3 days a week. If they do want to move it, I guess they could. They'll have to obtain their health permit, and they're already working through that process with environmental health. And then finally is to allow this flag sign, which is 9 feet tall at the front of the building. So this is the elevations that they provided. So there's the fence enclosure. This is roughly what the canopy cabana structures are going to look like. They're going to have this mesh. One of the problems with this mesh is the sturdiness, the durability of the material. Fire Marshal's office has responded. This does not meet the flammability requirement. So one of our conditions, we'll go through those in a minute, is just that they have to provide the planning director an alternative. And our preference would be potentially, they don't have to, but maybe look at those other projects that we talked about in those photos and use sort of that material that would meet the flammability requirements. This is the hot dog cart. They'll have 2 small placard signs going on each side of the food cart, and the food cart will basically be parked over here. Here's your 3 cabana structures and then the performance stage. So this is already, there's the flag sign in the front. These signs were already approved. Okay, so our rationale is to improve everything except for the covering on the canopy, which needs to be revised. The natural pine wood structures themselves are consistent with the River Corridor Master Development Plan and the heritage policies downtown. Quality building materials will be used. Again, the mesh coverings just don't meet the flammability requirements of NFPA 701. It'll have to be revised, and I think we've spoke to the applicant already, and she's aware of that, and we'll come up with something. There's the decorative fence, so that just matches what you all had already approved. The mobile food unit, again, it's just a food truck. It'll have a concrete pad under it. It'll meet all the zoning requirements. And this is some of the required improvements, I guess, that were removed. Once Shannon did the demolition, they had to remove this portion of the fence and these 3 trees in front, so they'll have to replant those. So we've made a condition of approval. Okay, so that's the downtown district, and then the historical overlay, the certificate of appropriateness. I'll go through this very quickly, just because they're not really touching the building, but we still have to look at it because it's part of the historical site. None of the improvements are attached to the building. There won't be any removal of historic material. The improvements will complement the existing building and will reflect recent approvals. And I think that's it. We believe that once they change the material on the cabana structures, really these certificate of appropriateness policies talk about preservation of the existing historical area, but also allowing some modern changes over time. It's kind of a balancing act, and we believe they achieve both based on the materials and the colors that they've given us. If they use that solid dark green, that's a consistent color around that time period when the Masonic Temple was built. So I think just neutral color should be sufficient. So this concludes staff's presentation, and we are recommending approval of both cases subject to 6 conditions each. Colors, dimensions, and materials of all shall be consistent with the renderings approved by DHRC. The applicant shall attain a food service permit for the mobile food unit. Again, they are going through that process now. We're just waiting on this approval today. The applicant shall obtain building permits as required. An alternative material for the cabana shade structure shall be submitted that meets the flammability requirements of the city fire marshal and the historical guidelines to the satisfaction of the planning director. So again, this could just be an administrative approval if y'all are good with this condition as worded. All original approved property fencing and the trees are restored. Number 6, the banner sign attached to the front railing is removed. I understand the applicant has done that. And that concludes staff's presentation. Any questions or comments? I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the previous one we just looked at the fire station, the everything that was going to be proposed there was going to be fire rated, like the deck and all that. So why is this different where they can build this out of wood and the deck and everything can be out of wood, where the previous one, they had to change and have to do it out of stone and steel post? What makes this one different?
I'm not sure. I know we had circulated the different agencies and departments as part of our review, and we included it in our weekly meeting. And so I think we could reassess that with the fire marshal, but I wasn't aware of anything other than the flammability of the canopy when I got his response.
And I also noticed in the where y'all go through and give all your recommendations and stuff, it said that y'all were saying this was the same as what we did at 1899, the trellises on the back. And it said y'all were saying that they were actually made out of wood, but they were really made out of metal, because I did those, and because they had to be fire rated. And so y'all mistakenly put them as wood, but they're not. They're metal. So I'm just wondering why this is changed and it can be made out of wood now, because I couldn't do it over there. And it's basically the same thing. It was on the back of the building.
I may have been referring to Mr. Mazur. So the covering on top of the trellis structure you're saying that's not wood either?
Metal. That whole thing is metal that I did on 1899. So
okay.
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't understand why this is different from that deal over there.
I think there's been
metal.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we can look into it for sure. I know there's been other cases where we've had, like, for example, Raymond's property, and then the one next to it, I think, had wooden fencing in the back. But
because even like on the previous one, it said that the deck couldn't be wood; it had to be out of stone, so they had to backfill it. And so I'm just wondering why there's a difference.
I know, and I wasn't in these DRCs, but I know that the Old Central Firehouse Bed and Brew has had a DRC or consultation in which they talked to each of the different divisions. They talked to building permits, fire marshal, planning. So that has been fully discussed. With Jeff's case, I guess my assumption was it would be off the property line more than 5 feet. My understanding is, and I'm sorry that there's not someone from the building permits office on here, but my understanding is once it gets set back to a certain distance, then the fire rating is not the same requirement. So
20 feet. I think it's 20 feet is the rule. So I
okay.
guess it's 20 feet from the building.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that, David, but we will ensure, I mean, obviously when they go to seek building permits, if there is a concern with the flammability and they have to change their request, it will have to come back to this board. So unless it's something minor. So the look and the features are really what we're looking at. If there are other, and I don't know, Jeff, did we, and I see Alex is on here now as well. Did we actually go through a DRC or consultation on this in regards to speaking with the fire marshal's office?
we didn't. We brought it up in our review, and then I had sent them a copy of the plan. So it may, depending on what they had reviewed. I know the roof cover was definitely an issue, and so we worked through that. There's about 45 feet maybe in that courtyard in terms of width. And then I think each structure, what did I say? It was 10 feet wide or 8 feet wide, I think. So I think it's tight anyway, but I think if they had to, maybe a question for the applicant in a few minutes, but I think if they had to push it back a bit, they probably have enough room. I mean, it's my understanding is it's a very small space, or they may be able to use, smaller structures, but I think we can work. I'm with Hillary. I think we can work through that with them. And if there's a problem, then obviously they'll have to fix it.
Okay, thank you. That's the only comment I have.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other comments from commissioners? All right, are we going to have any public comment? Okay, any further discussion with anybody? And if not, can I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve as per staff's recommendations.
Great. Who seconded? Hopefully staff can figure out who that was. I couldn't tell. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm having a little audio weirdness here. Is there
Was
anybody?
James Thomas was the second.
Second.
Was there anybody opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you for participating in the process, ma'am. And with that.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, we
Thank you,
appreciate
Alex.
you. Now we'll move on to the division report, if there is one.
I think I'll just go ahead and reiterate with the rising cases, we will probably continue to do this virtually. I know that we would love to see everyone's face and be all together in a room, but I think this is the safest for everybody. So we will continue to do that. I did, just so that everyone knows, I did speak to the building official just now. That's why I stepped out of the office for a minute. If you are in the downtown area and you are property to property, if you are within 10 feet of the property line, then you have to worry about fire rating. So we will continue to work with that applicant as we go forward on this case, but just wanted everybody to know that it is 10 feet in the downtown area. So we will address that comment as well. And we are still rotating staff in every day. So if you have a question or need to speak to someone, just let us know and we will get that information to you.
All right, thank you very much. So the next regular meeting of the DHRC is scheduled to begin on Thursday, December 17th at 10 a.m. On 2020. It says here East Reception Room, City Hall, 72 West College, but just be forewarned that it's most likely to be Zoom, just like this one was. So without any further ado, I will move to adjourn. Thank you very much.